professionalinvestor.com's daily brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Happy Monday morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Frivolity. It's 9 o'clock on the West Coast. It is the 9th of October. Dun, dun, dun. Actually, we're marching our way through the first 2 weeks study of Q4 2023. So probably by the end of this week, we'll have a pretty good idea where the fund managers are parking newly deposited money for their client base. That's a concept that we teach in the education program, sector rotation. Sam Stovall, all that. So actually level 3ers, you got that coming up, but level 3ers now, you are into options. You're learning all of the nomenclature of options. So anyway, we had a really fun session last Tuesday on harmonics with them. That was super exciting. And on Saturday, we had a really great class, a level 4 class. Zach teaching bull call spreads. And actually, I even tweeted out a really cool bull call spread that actually I should probably put the trade on here. In Mara, cryptocurrency stock, which looks really interesting. As we sort of talked at length about yesterday, the breadth indicator trying to turn up. You can see how the fast and the slow actually literally kissed yesterday. Quite often we see kisses and then think of the red line, the fast moving average as the boy, and then the teal as the girl, and the girl sometimes slaps the boy in the face, and the kiss is rejected. It'll be interesting to see how today unfolds. Obviously, there really is only one news item on the slate here today. And of course, we all know what that is, this situation in Israel right now. Demonstrator of best practices, of course, Monday, you know what the most important thing you do on Monday is don't go and screw up your whole week right out of the gate. And I did notice pretty typical Monday price action. I suppose we could look at the charts in a bit. A lot of sort of cheeky price action. In fact, my buddy here, Chris, he likes to trade the opening range trade. And I noticed they pulled a totally classic FU move on that opening range trade in the crude pits this morning. So business as usual. So, the point here is Monday, you don't want to blow yourself up right out of the gate Monday morning. So I took it really slow. In fact, you can see technically today is a holiday. It's fascinating, going through all the news rags, and I guess it makes sense. NPR is pretty left leaning. I don't know how long this is going to last, but I guess now they're trying to change the name from Columbus Day, which is ironic, the guy who discovered America. Now they're actually going to try and rename it to National Indigenous Day down in the States. I don't know whether I thought I saw that on the NPR news feed. Maybe that was taken out. I don't know. Here we are. Up first, briefing how and why we honor Indigenous Peoples Day. So they're like literally indoctrinating the population. What happened to good old Columbus? I guess he was thrown out with the woke trash. God, this world. Anyway, it is what it is. In Canada, it is Thanksgiving holiday, of course, because we live so close to the North Pole. The weather often turns much earlier, and so that means fall harvest comes earlier for Canadians. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. But technically, today is a holiday for me. And if anything, what I kind of see on these kind of days is a lot of sort of funny business with regard to the banks and the way that they manipulate markets. And I suppose, with the goings on in Israel, they are pushing markets around also. Are these real moves? I don't know. Like the headline right out of the gate here, first thing this morning, oil surges on Israeli conflict. I mean, the irony of it all is that there isn't any oil in Israel. And this isn't really going to affect Saudi Arabia, and it's certainly not going to affect the oil sands or tar sands, whatever you want to call them, or the Balkan oil fields in North Dakota, or Venezuelan oil. But nonetheless, always Middle East conflict always adds tension to the equation, and that's the interesting thing is there are no econs of note here today on Monday they kind of do that quite often. There's a lack of fundamental drivers, so that's why you can get a lot of this really sort of screwy price action back and forth. So they got to come up with some reason for this crap to be doing what it's doing. And so the reason du jour is it's all about Israel and what's going on there. So and frankly speaking, it shouldn't surprise anybody to see that in years gone by. Middle East tensions, especially in that particular country, often drive oil prices. So in this kind of lack of news kind of environment, of course, you see we have a bunch of Fed speakers. So they're going to be talking a little bit about where they think interest rates are going and all that kind of stuff. Would be kind of cool to have like a feed to just have those speeches running in the background, but I haven't figured that one out yet. So we've got sort of a situation where the stock market kind of wants to try and turn up, but and you look at the price charts, and we are in locations where a bounce does seem realistic. But obviously geopolitical issues are at the fore here today. And obviously, well, not obvious. Maybe it should be obvious. We don't want people dying in this world. Why? I don't know why they have to be so damn violent. Sad commentary on us silly humans. What do I do? And Monday's actually a really good sort of, what do you do coming out of the gate? First thing I like to do, and not a bad sort of value added proposition for all you guys, is just take a look at what the big picture sort of is showing us. So maybe we'll just spend some time here on the public, since there isn't any econs, and the only news is the Israeli situation. So, what do the price charts overall kind of suggest? So stock market, as we had said, we've been working our way lower here literally since, I guess basically the middle of the, we're into the breath rollover. So here, August 31st, early September. There we go. So that was basically this failure here. You can see lots of beautiful, look at that MACD bear div. So beautiful OBV failure too, and very typical September, right? September is historically the worst performing month. We backed up into the 200 period moving average. And of course, everything that we teach in the education program, at any given point in time, you should expect 38.2 retracements. So it's not really anything out of the ordinary here. That big fat M staring us in the face, though, that's going to take some serious work to go and break, because our rule is that this isn't a bull market again until we can actually W out on the other side of this trend line, and who knows how long that's going to take to recapture. I'd say so for the time being. This is very typical 38.2 retest. You should expect this at any given point in time. Also, too, really great commentary on value. So this is the top of value. You can almost see this like a shelf. So there's a whole bunch of people that probably bought off of this node right here. So if we come back down into that area, there may be more buy orders sitting in that area. 200 SMA, you could make the argument 30 SMA, 200 SMA. We're literally stuck. I like to call this a moving average sandwich. Yum, yum, yum. And we're probably stuck in that sandwich for the next little while. If we look at the weekly chart, you can see momentum wise, this looks pretty bad. It's going to take a lot of work. Notice, like, even when we had these W's coming in on momentum indicators, they had a pretty sizable rally off the lows, but then they had to go back down and test the lows in earnest. So I don't imagine, again, there's our 38.2 Wyckoff checks. I don't imagine that this is going to turn around tomorrow. This weekly momentum here is going to take a while to fix. And it makes sense because, the whole problem with this market is what drives stock prices. There's two fundamental drivers. If you don't know them, then you're just sort of like, well, I don't know, this is just random walk. But, they're corporate earnings. And of course, that we are heading into earnings season here shortly, so that should probably help the market. But obviously, not obviously, the other thing is interest rates. And of course, interest rates are not happy. And, I think they got a little bit of a reprieve here this morning. You can see on the short, or actually right across the curve, and especially on the short end, bond prices are moving higher. But if we look at our bigger picture, this is our inflation deflation conversation. I mean, maybe if we're lucky, we start emming out here. We have actually hit for our inflation deflation freak out guide. We actually are starting to come up into technical objectives. It's big 2.618 floating out there. So maybe, this, I suppose this situation in the Middle East might also maybe curtail economic activity a little bit. The political situation down in the States is probably going to slow up money spending. Obviously, and going to be huge aid packages. Although I am hearing Biden, he's kind of saying, you know what, we're just going to do one shot, one deal. Give Ukraine, Zelensky, I like the guy, let's give him $100 billion because, hey, what the hell? We're all rich. What? Anyway, so one and done. I think that's what they're trying to call it. So try and spin more money to Ukraine, which is getting a little embarrassing, I suppose. And frankly speaking, this is just Brian's opinion. I don't blame the people that are trying to maintain the purchasing power of currency and saying, what the fuck? Why are you giving all these people this money that we don't have? You're going into debt, becoming debt slaves to the banksters, solidifying our fucking cement shoes to go and help this country in the middle of Europe. I mean, I could understand that, local Americans are like, America first, damn it. So it doesn't surprise me. And, as long as you have that kind of insane money printing spending going on, then I would imagine interest rates are just going to continue marching higher. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. As we had said there a moment ago, the bond market did catch a bit of a bid here this morning, but that was predicated on the stock market kind of calming down here a little bit. But you can see stock market, and especially things like the NASDAQ, is trying to firm up here. And is that on maybe this bounce here in the commodities that we've seen today was maybe it wasn't exactly like off of a really powerful base. So, all right. So stock market, are we going to base here? I still think we're kind of moving average sandwichy, and this is going to take some time to clean up. But, we did have the breadth turn back up. That was a pretty precipitous drop over the month of September. Could we go through a few weeks just to do nothing more than just counter trend rally back up against resistance here? Maybe even come back up and kiss value high here on the weekly charts. Yeah, that wouldn't shock me. Having said that, though, that's not the prettiest technical picture that you want to see. That's a troublesome picture. I suppose moving on. And we probably should see a similar conversation out of things like Bitcoin. Didn't enjoy as much of a bounce as the S&Ps, but As you can see, the way that I actually describe the Bitcoin chart right now is I think we're playing like 38.2 ping pong right now. So we have this 38.2 from the entire bull cycle. I would have thought that we would have traded back to that level. So it does kind of surprise me that we never did get back up there. Maybe we can get like one more push here up into happening events over the next few months. And you can see the top of value. Would be nice to sort of fill that part of the profile in. Maybe one more push if we're lucky, especially if the stock market is going into like uber rally mode. And you can see on the downside here, we just did a 38.2 tag. That's what this pullback was. Just off of this little itty bitty range, you can see how we rallied up into 38.2s. Collins dump chaser zone, if you will. And I get the impression that they want to try and push this thing higher. We'll see how it goes. I mean, maybe I'm mistaken there. But I think for the time being, this guy's kind of range bound between that extreme high at the 50% level there and these recent lows. And I did notice Bitcoin did come off here a bit this morning along with crypto. But, you know, the little names like that Loom that we were looking at, man, that thing just keeps going higher. It's quite remarkable. So that's your stock market. And you can see crypto kind of got punched in the nose here first thing this morning. But look at that funny Loom. Look at it just keep going, eh? So anyway, I got to get off my butt and sell some more halves on doubles and all that kind of stuff. It was interesting to see, though, that you know, some of these crypto names took some pretty precipitous punches in the nose here today. So that was a bit surprising. But remember also, too, this is a funny, weird holiday day session. I don't think it's actually sort of real. It's a little bit suspicious here, you know. So anyway, Columbus Day, as I said in Canada, it's actually Thanksgiving holiday here. Okay, so moving on, if we take a quick boo at the commodities, and of course, this is what's been sort of driving the bus here today, with you know, obviously what's going on in the Middle East. So the crude oil, and this, of course, what everybody's all stressed about here. You can see how it just gapped violently off of the close on Friday. Fascinating how the close on Friday did nothing more than tag value high, which is we would expect, and I think I talked to you about this in I think it was the stock market we were looking at there a moment ago, where quite often this is what happens. The market comes back down, tests value high, and it just simply asks, do I want to be back in value? Because you know, an old guy that I used to work with, Johnny Hoagland, we used to call, at least I called it, the Hoag 80% rule. And then somebody's like, well, you can't call it a rule. So I was like, okay, fine, it's the Hoag 80% play. That if we do accept back into value, then 80% of the time we probably got to go all the way right back down to value low. So, you know, blame it on geopolitical events, blame it on somebody sneezing. I don't know. I think that technically speaking, there was a lot of justification to look for some sort of bounce that happened there. You can see on the weekly charts, it's fascinating that rally. And I do remember I put out a tweet responding to another gentleman who was like, this is a new bull market in oil. And I was like, I don't know. You know, I suppose I could find that. Maybe I'll find it for the after party. I was the analysis that I did was, yeah, it looked like we could probably rally up into the mid 90s, maybe even take a shot at $100. But is this a new bull market? I don't know. If anything, now you should all look at this and say, well, that kind of looks like a big ass inverted head and shoulders. So how we sort of consolidate through this range here on the daily charts, if we can go and W out repeatedly here, maybe like a 3 higher lows or something, might even get like a massive bullish bot to sneak us in on that huge inverted head and shoulders. And you hear a lot of people in the market. The one thing I'm hearing, though, is a lot of people are rooting for this, and this is what they want, and this is what they're expecting. And usually when people sort of are uber rooting for something to happen, the exact opposite usually happens. So that's a little concerning. Having said that, the weekly trend moving average, you can see all we did was bang into the 13 EMA here. didn't even actually tag the 200, tag the top of value. And then, like I said, we just gapped violently higher. And notice how all we did was we just gapped right into moving average resistance. So actually, it shouldn't surprise us that the market just ran into those moving averages and was rejected hard. If we look at sort of what's going on here, this is how I sort of set myself up on the weekends. And because it was Monday and it's a holiday here in Canada, I kind of took a slack sort of approach to today. I did most of my higher time frame analysis first thing this morning. So getting ready for the trading week, I pull up the matrix, and now this is what I do basically on a daily basis, try and find levels. Where am I allowed to buy? Where am I allowed to sell? So on that daily chart, there is that moving average. Actually, that's a bearish moving average cross too, which is kind of interesting. And off of the 4 hour, you can see how we rallied up into that 200 SMA resistance, and we're rejected off of that. And fascinating, good old Johnny Hoagland, he's got his weekly levels. And I've actually said, and I actually like this, that I think they're charging like, I don't know, it's like $50 or something US to do their combine tryout. And frankly speaking, I think $50 a month is worth it just to subscribe to get Hoag's weekly levels because they are just absolutely the shit. So it doesn't surprise me that Hoag had one of his levels and the market literally ran right into that and then just stopped. So I was contemplating, this could potentially be a bull flag. So if we get three higher lows, can we punch our way up into these highs up here? I do like that as a trade level as well, but I think that's probably going to take some time. There should be a hell of a fight right in this level. And you can even see on the lower time frame charts, it started to kind of M out here as we got ready for today's session. And I get the impression that we just ran into a brick wall. All right, thank you, sir. So I was very interested in hunting setups this morning. Of course, I'm supposed to be a day trader, so keep hunting, hunting, hunting. Interesting. Look how the stock market's clawing its way back here, eh? It's quite remarkable. We might get that bullish signal on the breadth signal today. So here is this this is the real-time look at crude. And a couple interesting levels, but I didn't really want to go and take a big shot first thing on a Monday morning. So I would prefer to like map out my AB equals CDs. Then if we come into alt ABC extension levels, then I start hunting for a return to the mean. Through the pit open, and I had mentioned earlier, this happens to be a 2-minute chart, but I think that's what this is. Yeah. I mean, you can see there's that opening range trade, and unfortunately, like they kind of goaded you into longs. But I get the impression that this pit open actually did nothing more than just brought price back into the top that they solidified overnight. And there was your shorting trade for the opening range trade. Coming into retail, you can see how they tried to bottom the market, then ramped it back up again, right up against these highs. And this looks like to me like, and then we went after the stops kind of trading. And then a V top inside bar, and then just cranked it down. So lots of, hey, let's screw the opening range trade, people. Let's run some stops on either direction. I did like this level down in here because I had 3 different trend lines all conflu. I don't know what the word is down in this area, but I just wasn't sharp. And considering how close we were to the VWAP, I wasn't overly excited about that. Did produce a pretty big rally, though, I will say that. So after watching the rally, then I go into sort of stalking mode. Well, is this going to turn into a bullish AB equals CD? Watch that through a good better part of the morning. I was already willing and able to hop in on the long side if we had resolved up through this level here. But as you can see, boom, we broke to new lows. So that meant that I have to hit the reset button on all my counts and hunt for another three higher lows. Then had to once again another new low. So re-hit the reset button. Notice how they brought the market right back to 25, then back down, then up, then Jesus, they put in an M. And then you can see how they broke the market down here. So, and they're even taking it low back even lower as we speak. So, really good example actually of you probably want to wait for a W on the other side of this established trend line, the actual market structure trend line. And notice how that was just rejected violently there. And here we are, we just broke to new lows. So I'm not getting any trend continuation signals here. So as a result, it's just been a big hurry up and sort of typical Monday. I'm not really surprised at what I see here. But if anything, this probably leads the market to feel a little bit more optimistic. As we said, probably going to see a little bit firmness come in on the stock market if this crude oil market can calm back down, because what it means is, well, maybe calmer heads are going to prevail in the Middle East and it's not going to turn into an absolute shit show over there. And maybe it just stays isolated in the Palestine area. Who knows? Only time will tell. All right. So give you a pretty good sort of description of what I see happening in the crude market. This would be my sort of day trading. Also, too, we talked a little bit about what I see in the stock market. Did more sort of that higher time frame chart. If anything, remember we had seen, and I suppose this is probably a good way to finish off with commentary on the stock market. This to me just looks like a massive ranging market. So it's interesting how first thing this Friday morning, on that jobs number, they brought the market right back down against the lows that were established previous. Kind of made mention to this through the broiler chicken show that they got everybody and their brother thinking bear. And really, we've probably heard Brian say this before. Candle body lows for trade location. I mean, wow, what a level there. Did not go through those lows, turned it straight up, rallied it right into the close, options expiry. And if anybody's interested, we could look at the options expiry. I mean, it was ridiculous the amount of money the Wall Street boys made on that options expiry. And then mysteriously, the market gaps lower here. I don't know. The whole damn thing stinks, if you ask me. And I actually find it a little bit naive. And I don't know, is somebody being sort of encouraged to promote this narrative? I find it incredibly naive to say that Hamas's attack is a staggering failure for Israelis' intelligence and security forces, when the reaction out of Netanyahu is exactly what he wanted. He hates these Palestinians. I mean, shouldn't there be like hate speech and hate crimes, against the Palestinians? And this has now given him carte blanche to just go in and murder Palestinians right, left, and center. This is exactly what they wanted. So I think this kind of statement actually is incredibly naive. And, in a weird sort of way, it's sort of smacks of 9/11 kind of crap, Was that event encouraged to actually get the American population to endorse, what I think it was like trillions of dollars of military spending? Anyway, don't need to open up that can of worms. So I don't know. I think the whole thing smacks of corruption. So anyway, that's just Brian's rant for you there, first thing Monday morning. Wouldn't be a rant without Brian's throwing his opinion in there, right? Anyway, so here we are rallying back up. It'd be interesting to see if they can actually close this thing up top here. This should be a pretty darn significant resistance level. Of course, this is settlement, so you can see that all they've done is they've just brought the market back to settlement. A lot of guys, remember, the market gapped lower overnight. They basically gapped it lower into trend line support, into moving average support, into I mean, hell, you probably want to call this a Wyckoff check here because that's basically what it is. Boom, right into that level. Um, where is Mr. Wyckoff? There he is. Geez, so many darn lines here, right? So, it sure looks business as usual to me. Does this create some sort of bull flag of which that will take us up into that 200 SMA? And interestingly enough, you can see I've already got my sort of I can sell levels all mapped out, and I can look for shorts up here, especially against the 200 SMA. And also, oh gee whiz, there's our 38.2 buddy. There's ATR. So yeah, there's not a reason why we can't see this thing pop up top here. It's just a question of can they get through this? This is probably a pretty significant resistance point right in here. Finish off with quick boo at Zikorn. As we said on the dailies, I think we're still kind of stuck. Interesting on the weeklies. We're just sitting right at that 200 SMA. Nothing really momentum wise here to get too excited about. We talked about this yesterday. We were basically up against a significant resistance level here. On the dailies, I had pointed out that there was a number of reasons to look for resistance up in this area. 38.2s. There's Collins dump chaser zone, 50% levels, previous rally peaks, trend line resistance, 200 SMA, Wyckoff check of the original breakdown. I mean, blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on and on. And then, as I sort of said off of the futures charts, you can see that we are very clearly stuck in what I think is a narrow sideways channel. I will say, and this has got to be hats off to crypto, that in this kind of environment, we always say there's always a bull somewhere. And look at that. Nick is even saying, thank you very much, Nick. Well said. And it just goes to show, I mean, is this national public radio? Is this really? I mean, I get the feeling that these guys are just like, it's as bad as, because the Democrats, of course, control the White House and the executive branch. So it's kind of like, in my country, they're called the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Company, which is just a mouthpiece for the government. They're just as bad as any fucking Soviet era government news agency, right? And even Allen was going to label them government funded news. Well, I think NPR is the same thing. And I don't think that this is actually these kind of statements. I don't think that that's actually healthy. They really should. Somebody is telling them to promote this narrative. Nick over there on YouTube says Egypt warned them of this attack 10 days beforehand. Yeah, and I would agree with that. So anyway, they always say, and I even said yesterday, I mean, us in the public, we don't really know what the hell the real story is. It's a bit of a con job. Okay, finish off our commentary about Bitcoin. So as we said, stuck in a trading range. As it stands right now, I think 28.5 looks to be significant resistance to the upside. The 50% level of the entire range is 28.370. And of course, if we go and M out and lose these moving averages, that means 27,000, we'll call it, is given. And that creates a double top breakdown, which of course, we always say, if you see the market smiling at you, it's getting ready to take your money away from you. So I don't think there's a hell of a lot going on in Bitcoin until we resolve this range. And there's lots and lots of reasons, like I had said here, lots of reasons to look for resistance in this area and key support. I hate to say it, I still think it's down at this level here, where we had all of these reasons to look for support down in this area. Mr. Finks, I want an ETF lows, blah, 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 blah. So, if we can't resolve this small range to the upside, then probably this is going to create a bigger range. And maybe we do have to come all the way back down here to make this right shoulder, if this is some big honking inverted head and shoulders. Because keep in mind, this inverted head and shoulders, it can be alive until this level here, 25.5 is given. So, I was on the weekend kind of conjecturing maybe we just do that kind of consolidation and then move higher. That does sometimes happen in the market. But, as it stands right now, this thing could dip all the way back down into here and we would still be technically working our way higher. So there's sort of your summary, and keep your eyes peeled. I will say that a lot of the names that we've been sort of talking about here of late, I mean, there's a hell of a lot of red on this screen here. I'm not quite sure what the hell the fundamental driver of this loom is. I mean, I'm long and I'm enjoying it, but this is actually what typically happens is you get one or two runners in a book and you're banging out doubles on these things. And then at some point, this thing will calm down and the rest of the market will start doing its thing. So it's interesting. This MPL seems to be bucking the overall trend. I don't know whether Loom has any fundamental reason behind the rally, but I'm not complaining. And then what I will say is, I had mentioned that good old Frax here actually put in an inside bar reversal signal here. Now it's coming back down into that buy level down in that area. But I put my neck in the noose. I told Zug's dad that I thought that this thing was a buy. So let's see if the market goes and embarrasses me. And then last but not least, there was a little SYS, and that guy's like, "You're shilling this?" I'm like, "I'm not shilling. I'm just saying something that looks really interesting to me." I think he's come right back down to the lows too. So on balance, it looks like crypto's a bit soft here. And I wouldn't be surprised with this much red on the crypto's screen that we might even see breadth indicators back up here a bit. I don't know whether we'll get a sell, but maybe we'll look in the after party at that kind of information and see if there's anything worth paying attention to there. Okay, I think I'll leave that. All right, so some people are saying stuff over there on YouTube. I'll leave that for now, but we can always talk about that kind of stuff in the after party. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe, ring Colleen's bell. Hopefully you're doing okay out there in the universe, Colleen. Slow and steady wins the race. Had a very tough afternoon with Liam yesterday, so fortunately it didn't go so well, but that's the way life is. I don't know. PMA for the win. Let's head over and have some fun in the after party, and I'm sure we'll have some interesting conversations there. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day, as TBG saying here today. All the best, and of course, it's Thanksgiving Day here in Canada. So, all right, all the best. The only thing left Brian says, bye for now.